You've got your pension landing in the same bank account you've used for years, same branch, same card, same routine, and you think that money is safe because it's sitting in a bank. That is exactly the assumption that is about to catch a lot of Australians out. Here is the plain truth, up front. The rules about the bank account your pension is paid into are changing right now, quietly, and there are deadlines already ticking that most people over 60 have never had explained to them clearly. Some of those changes could see money swept out of an account without you lifting a finger. Some could see a payment bounce back and vanish for days. And I know this because I have spent the last few months reading the fine print from Services Australia, the Australian Banking Association, and the corporate regulator so that you don't have to squint at it yourself. But do not switch off in a panic, because I am also going to show you exactly what to do about every single one of these. Stay with me to the end, because there is one free government search run by a named authority sitting online right now that could put money back in your pocket that you didn't even know was missing. I found it almost by accident, and I nearly cried when I saw what it does. Whatever bank you're with, whatever your pension situation, this applies to you. So let me walk you through it, calmly, one thing at a time. Let me start with the thing that worried me the most, because it happened to a mate of mine before I understood any of this. Picture a second bank account, not your main one. Maybe an old savings account. Maybe a term deposit you set up years ago and forgot. Maybe an account your late husband or wife opened that still has a few $1,000s sitting in it. You don't touch it. You don't need to. It just sits there, quietly, doing nothing, and you assume it will be there whenever you finally want it. Here is what almost nobody tells you. Under the Banking Act of 1959, that's the actual law that governs this, a bank account in Australia that has had no customer-initiated activity for 7 years and holds $500 or more is legally classified as unclaimed money. And when an account becomes unclaimed money, the bank does not keep it for you. The bank hands it over. It gets transferred to the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, the corporate regulator, ASIC, and it goes into a government pot in Canberra. Now read that carefully, because the word that catches people is customer initiated. Interest being paid in by the bank does not count. The bank paying you a few cents of interest each month does not reset the clock. It has to be you doing something, you making a deposit, you making a withdrawal, you logging in and moving money. If you have simply left an account alone for 7 years, the countdown has been running the whole time, and you never heard a tick. My mate Ron, good bloke, retired boilermaker, had an old account from a redundancy payout years back. Set and forget, he called it. He went to draw on it when his roof needed doing, and the account was empty. Not stolen, not a scam, transferred to the Commonwealth of Australia as unclaimed money, completely legally, because he hadn't touched it in 7 years. He got it back eventually, and I'll show you how at the end. But the fright of standing at that counter being told your money is with the government now is something I would not wish on anyone. So here is your first concrete step, and you can do it this week. Any account you are not actively using, log into it, or ring the bank, or walk into the branch and make one small transaction. Move $5 in, move $5 out, anything customer initiated. That single action resets the 7-year clock and keeps your money exactly where it belongs. Do it for every account you own, not just the one the pension goes into, because while ordinary people are losing track of old accounts, the banks themselves have been shutting the very branches those people rely on to check. Between the middle of 2017 and the middle of 2023, Australia lost more than 2,300 bank branches. More than 1 in 3 regional branches gone. Hundreds of ATMs pulled out of country towns. This is in the official record. It was examined in a Senate inquiry into regional bank closures that reported in 2024, and the findings were blunt about who gets hurt. Older Australians, people without smartphones, people who were told politely to just do it online while the door they'd used for 40 years was locked behind them. So think about the trap here. You have accounts you're told to keep an eye on, and at the same time, the front counter where you'd go to keep an eye on them is being taken away. The confusion isn't an accident. Every branch a bank closes saves that bank money. Every customer who gives up and forgets an old account is money that eventually flows out as unclaimed funds. Nobody in a suit is going to send you a personal reminder that your clock is ticking. The system is quietly counting on you not noticing. Therefore, you cannot rely on the branch anymore, and you certainly cannot rely on a friendly letter arriving in time. You have to be the one watching the calendar. And that brings me to the change that is happening to the pension account itself right now in 2025, the one with a hard deadline attached. There's a new system rolling out across every bank in Australia, and it has a name. It's called Confirmation of Payee. It comes out of something called the Scam Safe Accord, which was signed by the Australian Banking Association, the Customer-Owned Banking Association, and the banks themselves, and the commitment is that it is to be rolled out across all Australian banks through 2025. By the time this is fully switched on, every major bank will have it. Now, on the face of it, this is a good thing, and I want to be fair about that. Here is what Confirmation of Payee does. For decades in this country, when you sent money to someone, the bank only checked two things, the BSB number and the account number. It never checked the name. You could type in your daughter's name, put the wrong account number by one digit, and the money would sail off to a complete stranger, and the bank would shrug and say the name never mattered. That is how thousands of Australians have been scammed, and how thousands more have simply lost money to a typo. Confirmation of Payee finally checks the name against the account before the money moves and warns you if it doesn't match. So far, so good. But here is where you, as a pensioner, need to pay attention, because a safety feature you don't understand becomes a trap. Once this is switched on at your bank, if the name you enter does not exactly match the name on the account you're paying, you will get a warning, not a match, partial match, no match. And a lot of older Australians, seeing a scary warning on the screen, are going to do one of two things, either freeze and not pay a bill that genuinely needs paying, or panic and think they've already been scammed. The rates people you pay, the tradesman, the family member, if their account name is registered slightly differently from how you typed it, you'll get flagged. It doesn't mean fraud. It means the name didn't match to the letter. And the flip side is the dangerous one. Scammers already know this system is coming, and the warning I've seen from consumer advocates is that fraudsters will start telling victims to ignore that name check message. It always shows an error, just to prove it. So the very feature built to protect you becomes the thing a con artist talks you past. So here's your protection, and it's simple. From now on, when you send money and you see anything other than a clean, confirmed match on the name you stop, you do not approve it. You ring the person you're paying on a number you already have, not a number from a text or an email, and you confirm the account details out loud. If anyone ever tells you to ignore a name mismatch warning and push the payment through anyway, that is your signal that you are being scammed. A real business will never tell you to override your bank safety check. Write that down. Stick it on the fridge. Now, I can already hear some of you saying, this is all very well, but it doesn't really apply to me. I only ever get money paid in. I don't send money out. My pension arrives. I take out cash. That's the end of it. I don't do internet banking, so none of this touches me. I want to talk to you directly for a minute, because that is exactly the thinking that leaves people the most exposed, and I say that with love. Here's why it still applies to you. First, the 7-year unclaimed money rule does not care whether you use the internet. It applies to every account in the country, online or not. If you've got a passbook account, a term deposit, an old account in a joint name, those are the ones most likely to sit untouched, because the people who use passbooks are exactly the people who set and forget. So you are not outside this risk. You may be right in the middle of it. Second, the branch you use to take out your cash, that is precisely the kind of branch being closed. When it goes, you will be pushed toward a system you said you'd never use on somebody else's timetable in a hurry, which is exactly when mistakes and scams happen. Getting ahead of it now, on your own terms, is 100 times safer than being forced into it later. And third, this is the big one, even if you personally never send a dollar, your pension entitlement is affected by what sits in these accounts, and most people have no idea how. So let me give you the one concrete step for the "this doesn't apply to me" crowd. This week, make a simple list. Write down every bank account with your name on it, main account, savings, term deposits, old accounts, joint accounts, anything you can remember. Just the bank and roughly what's in it. That list on one piece of paper is the single most powerful protective document you can own. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why. You do not need an advisor. You do not need the internet. You need a pen. Because here is what your account balances are quietly doing to your pension, whether you look or not. Before I walk you through that, I want to mention something that helped me make sense of all of this, because reading fragmented government documents is exhausting, and you deserve the full picture laid out clearly. I've put together a series of digital books, Pension First, Pension Edge, and the Full System, that walk through exactly these rules, deadlines, and protections in plain English, the way I wish someone had handed them to me when I started digging. No jargon, no legal fog, just the steps in the right order. You'll find the details in the description below, and if you're the kind of person who wants everything written down in one place so you can come back to it, these were made for you. Right, back to where we were, and this is the part that turned my worry into genuine anger. When Services Australia works out your age pension, it does not just look at your income. It runs something called the income test and the assets test, and it applies what's known as deeming to your financial assets, including the money sitting in your bank accounts. Deeming means the government assumes your savings earn a certain rate of return, whether they actually earn that or not. The deeming rates were frozen at emergency lows, a lower rate of 0.25% and an upper rate of 2.25%. That freeze was extended, and it is currently set to hold until the 30th of June, 2026. Now hear the deadline in that. The freeze ends after the 30th of June, 2026. Unless the government extends it again, those deeming rates can rise. And when the deemed rate on your savings goes up, the income the government pretends you're earning goes up, even if your actual interest hasn't moved a cent. And when your deemed income goes up, your pension can go down. That is a change with a date on it coming toward you right now, and almost nobody at the kitchen table is talking about it. This is why the account map I asked you to make matters so much. If you don't know what you hold, you cannot know how you'll be deemed, and you cannot check whether Services Australia has your balances recorded correctly. And I promise you, they get it wrong. I have seen people deemed on money they no longer had, losing pension over an account they'd emptied years earlier because the department's records were stale and nobody had updated them. Therefore, here is your action, and it costs you nothing. Log into your MyGov account linked to Centrelink or ring Services Australia and check the financial assets they have listed for you. Make sure every account and every balance matches reality. If you've spent down savings, if an account is closed, if a term deposit matured and you use the money, update it, because every dollar of savings the department thinks you have, but you don't, could be costing you pension you are legally entitled to right now. But updating your details leads straight into the next trap, and this one has a hard cutoff that is closer than the deeming freeze. The check is dying. And if that sounds like it's got nothing to do with your bank account, stay with me, because it has everything to do with it. The Australian government has announced the wind down of the cheque system. The Treasurer's own announcement laid out the timeline. Cheques are to stop being issued by the end of June, 2028, and the entire cheque system is to be wound down by 2030. Some banks are moving faster than that and phasing cheques out sooner on their own. This is done. It is not a rumor. The cheque, as a way of moving money in this country, is ending. Now, why does that matter to a pensioner? Because a lot of older Australians still receive certain refunds, rebates, insurance payouts, share dividends, and even some government-related payments by check. And a lot of you still pay certain things, rates, clubs, tradesmen, family by check. When checks disappear, every one of those payments has to switch to an electronic transfer into or out of a bank account, which means the account details you have on file with dozens of organizations suddenly matter enormously. If a dividend or a refund that used to come as a check is now sent electronically to an old, wrong, or closed account, that money can bounce, sit in limbo, or you guessed it, eventually end up in the unclaimed money pot. So the villain in this story isn't one bank or one rule. It's the whole quiet drift of everything moving electronic, all at once, aimed straight at the generation least warned about it, with the branches closing at the same time so there's nowhere to go and ask. Nobody sat you down and explained that the check you've relied on your whole life has a death date. I'm doing that now. Here's your step. Anywhere that currently sends you money by check, a share registry, an insurer, a former employer's super fund, a private health fund, contact them and give them your current, correct bank account for direct deposit. And keep a note of who you've told. Do it before 2028. Not in the panic of 2030 when the whole country is scrambling at once. The people who update their details early will get their money smoothly. The people who wait will spend hours on hold behind everyone else who waited. By now, you might be feeling like the walls are closing in a little. Accounts that empty themselves. Branches vanishing. Name checks that can trip you up. Deeming rates about to thaw. Checks dying. It's a lot. But I told you at the start I wasn't going to leave you in fear. And I meant it. So, take a breath, because now I'm going to give you the thing that makes all of it worth watching to the end. This is the part I nearly cried over when I found it, and it's the reason I made this whole video. Remember Ron, my mate, whose old account got swept into the government pot? Remember I said the money that becomes unclaimed gets transferred to ASIC, the corporate regulator, and sits in Canberra? Here is what they do not put in a glossy ad. That money does not disappear. It does not expire. There is no time limit to claim it back. And the government keeps a public register of it that you can search for free right now from your own home without paying a single cent to anyone. It's run by ASIC on their consumer website called MoneySmart. On MoneySmart, there is an unclaimed money search. You type in a surname, just a surname to start, and it searches the national database of unclaimed money. Money from inactive bank accounts, from lost shares, from insurance policies and dividends that were never collected, money that belongs to real people who simply lost track of it. As a nation, there are billions of dollars, billions, sitting there unclaimed. Some of it is small, some of it is thousands, and a huge share of it belongs to older Australians and to the estates of people who have passed away, whose families never knew to look. Here is exactly what to do, and you can do it this week. Go to the MoneySmart website, that's the official ASIC one, and find the unclaimed money search. Type in your own surname, then type in your husband's or wife's surname, including maiden names. Then type in your parents' surnames, especially if you've handled the estate of someone who has died, because unclaimed money from their old accounts could still be sitting there waiting for the rightful heir. Type in every family name you can think of. It is free to search, and it is free to claim. If you find a match, you follow the instructions to prove it's yours, and you get your money back with interest. Not a fee, not a catch. Your money returned. And here is my warning inside the good news, because where there's free money, there are vultures. There are private companies out there that will offer to find your unclaimed money for you and then take a fat percentage of it as a fee. You do not need them. You never need them. The government search is free and the claim is free. If anyone offers to reunite you with your money for a cut, hang up. Do it yourself on the official ASIC MoneySmart site and keep every dollar. Now, do you see why I had you write that list of every account with your name on it? Because that list is your map. Every old account, every closed account, every joint account, every account of a loved one who has passed, each one is a name to search. The people who lose this money forever are the ones who never made the list and never ran the search. The people who get it back are the ones who spent 20 minutes doing exactly what I've just told you. The rule was changed quietly. Most people were never told clearly, but now you know precisely what to do, and that puts you back in control. So let me pull the whole thing together, because it's simpler than it felt when we started. Touch every account you own, so the 7-year clock never runs down and sweeps your money away. Treat every name mismatch warning as a stop sign, and never let anyone talk you past it. Map your accounts on one sheet of paper. Check what services Australia has on file before the deeming freeze lifts on the 30th of June, 2026. Update your bank details everywhere before the check dies by 2030. And this week, search your name and your family's names on the free ASIC MoneySmart Unclaimed Money database, because there may already be money out there with your name on it, waiting. You didn't stumble into this video by accident. You clicked because some part of you already sensed the ground was shifting under your feet, and you were right. And in the space of a few minutes, you've gone from worrying about it to knowing more about it than most people half your age. That's not luck. That's the kind of person you are, someone who refuses to be caught out by rules that get changed quietly in the hope that you won't be paying attention. You were paying attention. Good on you. Now I want to hear from you. And I read these. Tell me one thing in the comments. Have you got an old bank account, a term deposit, or an account from someone who's passed away that you haven't touched in years? Just answer yes or no. And while you're there, tell me what part of the country you're watching from, because I like knowing whether we've got more of the bush or more of the city here looking out for each other. If this reached you in time, say so, because your comment pushes it in front of the next Australian who needs the warning before their clock runs out. And if you want to stand with the rest of us who have decided we will not be blindsided, who read the fine print, who watch the calendar, who warn our mates before the deadline instead of after, then come along with me. There's a group of us here now who look out for each other, and that's worth more than any government letter. Because there's one more change I'm digging into right now, a quiet shift in how your pension payments themselves will be verified once the new banking checks are fully switched on. And when I've read every page of it, I'll bring it straight to you in plain English before it can catch you out. Watch your account, keep your list handy, and I'll see you in the next one. If some of this worried you, there's more. Right where I stopped, members get the full account protection plan for your pension, step by step. Inside the Pension Watch, you can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself, and you won't be alone. So many older Australians are already in there with me. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen, and you can cancel anytime. No risk,